Okay, so let's start off by looking at how many hours workers in the UK spend at work on average. So here we have some statistics from the Office of National Statistics in the UK on working hours over the past few years. This first slide shows how the hours of everyone in employment have changed over the period from 1992 to 2011. And we can see that overall there's been a fall in the average working week from 38.1 hours in 1992 to 36.3 hours in 2011. If we look at some major sectors of the British economy, we can also see some differences in the average working hours. People working in construction have tended to work the longest hours, followed by those in manufacturing, with people in the service sector working the shortest hours. Although it should be noted that in the construction sector there's been a fall of around 3 hours in the average working week over the past decade, the past 10 years. What's important to understand when considering the fall in the average number of hours is the influence of a changing economy in the UK. To illustrate this, let's look at the share of employment across the different sectors in 1992. What we can see is that 68% of people were employed in the service sector, 21% in manufacturing, 7% in construction, and 4% in other areas such as agriculture. Now looking at 2011, what we see is that the service sector has a much larger share of employment. And at the same time as this has gone up, the percentage of people employed in manufacturing has gone down. So why is this important? Well, if we go back to our first slide for a moment, we can see that people in manufacturing tend to work longer hours on average than those in the service sector. So if we have more people employed in services and fewer in manufacturing, this will actually reduce the average number of hours worked by the UK workforce as a whole. Okay, another important factor to consider is the effect on these figures of part-time working. Looking at this graph, we can see that the share of employment that is part-time working has been steadily increasing. So from around 24% in 1992 to 27% in the second quarter of 2011. The effect of this, of course, is to bring down the overall average number of hours for all those in work. Another interesting thing to look at is the percentage of people who are working part-time and who would like to work full-time. We can see that following the end of the 1990s recession, this was around 14%, but then this figure fell as the economy recovered. It started to rise again around 2004, and this increase accelerated at the start of the recession in 2008. In 2011, it stood at 16%, or around 1 in every 6 people working part-time.